so I can help you.
Okay.
I don't know, can you see this flower? Is there a flower picture somewhere?
Yes, yes.
This is a real stargazer. I just wanted to show you the parts before we start. So if you look at this picture of the flower, you'll see there are obviously the petals at the back, the pink things. But the first things I'm going to make are the things at the front of the photo. So the orangey things are the stamens. And then kind of in the middle of that, there's a thing with 3 little lobes. I don't know if you can see it. It's small. Yeah. That is called the pistil. I'm going to also make that. And then while those are busy drying, I'm going to start with the petals. So I know it sounds a bit like, what the heck are we doing here? But just hang in there with me. We're making these inside parts. Okay. Everyone with me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take away the, whoopsie. What I'm doing here. Stop sharing. Okay. Here we go. And just so you know, I am recording this so you guys can watch it afterwards, but just so you know that it is recording. Okay, so for this you need lots and lots of little thin wires. I've got some white and some green. I have been stuck at home, so I'm just using what I've got. But what you actually want is these white ones. Okay, so they are pre-covered. So this is a 28 gauge, so a nice thin wire covered with white tape. As I said, I didn't have enough for all the parts in white, but I'll show you the different bits and you can see. I think I might start with the green ones for the inside bits because those can be green and it's not really such a big deal. So this is a slightly thicker one, but again, just use what you've got if that's what you've got at home. You know, we are in COVID times. No one's going out for a piece of wire, right? Okay, so I'm going to start with the stamens. So this is just a little pair of pliers that I have, but you can just bend it with your fingers actually. I'm going to bend it to make like an L shape. Can you see it? And then I'm going to bend from there to make a T shape. Okay. And you'll see my T shape. And you will need 6 of those if you're going to make them yourself. I'm going to make them. I've got time to make 6. So some flowers are done in multiples of 4s and 5s, some in multiples of 3s. I don't know, it dates back to my like high school biology kind of stuff. The lilies have 3 petals or 6 petals. I'll show you now. So they have 3 of the wider ones and then 3 of the fatter ones, narrow ones, sorry. But they have 6 of these stamens. Okay, not working at all. You can also buy no, what, that's not a T, that's like an S. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so how many have we got? 2, 4, 5. Okay, so these you can buy a kind of a pre-made stamen that looks a little bit different to this. I don't know, I still make them because I think they look more realistic. But if you're using the pre-made ones, you just bind them in when you assemble the flower. I don't have any here to show you, but I can maybe send you a photo. Okay, then we're going to
ask you a question.
Yes.
How do you feel they compare in prices, whether you make it yourself or you buy in? I mean, they're quite expensive to buy.
Are they? So for me, a bundle of those stamens is probably like only like 10 rand. So for me, they're about this. It's not rand really neither here nor there.
Oh, okay.
Maybe shop around for your stamens. I don't know. As I say, I always make everything because when I started doing this a million years ago, please don't judge me. I'm not that old. You couldn't buy these things. Everything you had to make. So that's why I still make everything myself. And also, if you don't have the items, you don't have access to the items, you can still carry on and make the flowers. So that's, for me, I still make them myself. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to use this paste. This is called gum paste. This is the brand I prefer. It is nice and, for lack of a better word, like a chewing gum texture. You can see that on one screen, but not on my other screen. Oh, there you go. So it might get a little bit sticky, it's depending on how humid the weather is, etc. So you can use Holsum, which is just a white margarine. I have this, it's also just a product that you can buy, but inside it's basically the same. It's just like a white fat. Just put a little bit on your fingers if it's feeling sticky. And I'm not actually going to color this paste. You can color it yellow or brown or whatever. For some reason, I don't have those colors here. I'm just going to dip it into the dust. So, okay, that's shiny. Oh, it's not shiny. Yeah. Okay, so I've got some orangey dust there. So I'm just going to make it out of white and then dip it into the dust. You can color it first and then dip it, whatever makes you happy. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a small piece, probably the size of a pea, maybe a baby pea, and just make it into kind of a little sausage. And then I'm going to stick it onto this T shape of the wire. I'm just going to push it over and shape it around. You just want to cover up the wire and just smush it on. Okay. And then, okay, so it looks a bit wonky now. I'm just going to shape it so it looks a little bit neater. Like that. Okay, then along the top here, you want to have an indent. So you can just use a knife or whatever, it doesn't matter, just push something in there, a toothpick, something just to, whoopsie, that was a bit too much indented. Just to push it in. And then I'm going to dip it into my color, which is very min here. Come on.
Is that pure color, or is it something mixed into your dust?
It's just the pure dust.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah. I'm just going to add a little bit extra with my brush because it's not, the tub is quite empty. I just want to make sure I've covered all the bits because it's looking a little bit exposed here. I don't know if you can see there. So you don't want the white peeping out. So I'm just going to use my brush a bit. Normally I just dip it in, but let's say this one is quite empty. So you can mix some, probably some Mazina in if you wanted to. Or if you wanted to have that polleny look, you can mix polenta in, which is like a yellow mealy meal, basically.
Yeah, I normally take mealy meal and just mix in color and then dip it that way.
Oh, that. Actually, yeah. Right. Why? Why have the polenta, which is fancy and expensive? Okay, so you need 6 of those. So I'm just going to bang out 6 quickly. So do you make a lot of flowers, Cheryl?
I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to get into doing the wedding cakes and being able to make as many flowers as possible to be able to, you know, do what the brides want.
Yes. I don't know. Are people going to be having weddings? This is my next question.
We hope it will be normal soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it will eventually we'll go back to some kind of normal, but it just feels like we're living in this really mad time.
I was driving back from Randburg yesterday, and I drove past an event company's truck and trailer, and somewhere they delivered one hell of a delivery for some function in Cosmo City. So I think there are places that are doing functions.
Yeah, I've seen a few wedding organizers that I follow on Facebook have had functions, but they look quite small, not big groups, just small groups.
Well, like I said, this must have been a big thing because there was a big truck and a big trailer behind it. So you know, I reckon they delivered at least 200 chairs and tables, you know, to a function. That's why, and I just thought to myself, I wonder what, I wonder how.
Okay, so there I've got a whole bunch more. Once you get into like a zone with these, it goes quite quick. So you can see I made those just in a few. And actually, so one of the reasons for these lilies, they take long because there's so many parts to them. But this part, you know, these parts you can do well ahead of time. So just like a real lily, I find that these drop this pollen a little bit when you, kind of bind them together. So you might want to, I quite like that dusty look. It's more realistic for me. But you might want to just steam them a little bit just to set that color on there so that you don't have yellow going everywhere. Okay. Oh, sorry. Big screen in my hand. Okay, I'm bored now. Let's move on. Come on, Simon. Here we go. I think that's good enough. I'm going to just leave them with that. Okay. And then I've got, I don't know if you can see here, I've got like a piece of polystyrene that I'm just putting all my parts in, just so that they don't lie flat. Oh, it's got a big patch. So they can just go there until we're ready to use them. And then just make sure you don't have yellow all over for the next stage. You don't want to get yellow into your white paste. Okay. Sorry, I'm just moving so that you can see. Hello? There we go. Okay, so for the pistil, which is this middle thing, what you're going to do is take another piece of paste. Not a big piece. I would say a chickpea maybe. I'm tired in my life trying to compare these things to various legumes. And just make a little sausage with it. Okay, something like that. And then you're going to push the wire right into it, down the middle of the sausage. Okay. Right, and then we need to thin it out quite a bit. This is much too fat. This is not going to give us a nice result. So you're going to just pinch it and rub it between your fingers, down, down, down. It needs to be a little bit fatter at the top because we're going to shape those 3 little lobes out of that top part. And then this is going down, down, down. Okay, then it really depends on the size of your cutters that you're going to use. So I actually have 2 kinds here that I've just found. So this is the big set. This is the small set that I have. But of this variety, they come in all the in-between sizes as well. There's lots of sizes. I just happen to own these 2. I think I'm going to use the bigger one because that's more life size for the stargazer. But if you were using the small one, it would need to fit comfortably in the size of that petal. The same with the big one. So I can carry on a bit, making it a bit longer. The smaller one, I would say, also make your stamens a bit smaller. So this size is probably not exactly life size. You probably do get small lilies, so I don't actually know. But again, you need to decide how big it needs to be to go on the cake you're making. So if it's a one single, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, looks like an earbud. Like just one big flower that's the only thing on the cake, then you can get away with the life size. But I think if it's going to be multi things, you don't want this huge hulking giant flower which doesn't fit in with the rest of the decor. Then you might want to make the smaller ones. Okay, so it's quite long now. It's fitting quite nicely into my petal. I'm going to pinch away what's left at the bottom here just to get rid of it because it's more than we need. And then I'm going to form this into these 3 little lobes. So if you look from the top, I'm just going to use my pliers, but you can use anything, a pair of tweezers, whatever you've got. Just pinch it a bit, and then pinch it a bit, and pinch it a bit. Okay. I don't know if you can see that sort of in 3. And then I just want to kind of extend it down a little bit. So this is a veining tool. Again, you can use whatever you've got. If it's easier to use a knife or a toothpick, I can't find it. Oh, it's a toothpick. This is a toothpick. So I've got those. Just to push in, just so that it kind of goes down the length a bit. There we go. And the top is a bit flattened. You can push it down a bit. Okay, I don't know if it's very hard to see. I can't really see it in the screen here. And these are, again, with the extremely minute details. So these tiny, tiny details are the things that take extra time, but also the things that make it look more realistic. So you need to decide, is it something that you think is worthwhile spending the time on? How much are they paying? Are they paying for this kind of level of detail? You know, that kind of thing. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do it. If you want them super realistic and you're just doing it for the pleasure of it, then obviously do all the details. If you're doing it for money and they're not paying you, oh, that's shiny, and they're not paying you a lot of money, then maybe you don't want to spend hours doing extra details that they're not even going to notice. Okay. So a little bit of this green dust here. I think I talked about this last time when I was doing the roses. I like it to be this kind of khaki green. Oh, that's the train. Something a bit, I don't know, more realistic looking. And I'm just going to brush it along the length here. You actually want the bulk of the color to be at the bottom. I've now got it going everywhere. Oh, never mind. Okay, let's just go all the way there. And then the top, you actually think it's probably technically brown, but I'm not getting out brown now. Let's just go with green. And where those little veins are, the color will settle in those little veins that I made and highlight them more. Okay. And all of the dusting, I'm doing it now because I want to show you step by step, but all of the dusting I would probably do once my things were dry because it's just a bit easier. Okay. You can press harder, you can, you don't get this unevenness that comes from it being a bit damp. I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. It's just the inside. I'm not sure anyone but me looks at these types of things. Okay. Everyone okay? I'm carrying on to the petals. I'm assuming nobody's working along. I'm getting that vibe. I'm just going to turn my board over because there's green all over it. Ah, yeah. Right. And again, just make sure your hands are clean in between. You don't want to, when you're working with white paste, that's the other reason I would dust at the end. You don't want to, like, let's say you're making a St. Joseph's lily, which is white, you don't want to get any dust into your white. It will just discolor it and you won't have that nice white effect. So ordinarily, I would suggest do everything with white first and then move on to your dusting right at the end. Because also once you open the dust, you can't really control where it goes. It just goes everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to do the big size. The set comes with 2 parts. Okay, so if you look at, should we just show you with the small set because it fits better in the screen. If you look at them, you'll see it's got a sort of bottom part, which is flatter. The top is curved. And it's got a narrow one and a wide one. So the fat one is going to be the inside 3 petals, and the narrow one will be the outside 3 petals. Okay. You're going to roll out your paste. And this is the nice thing about this paste is you can roll it extremely thin. Much thinner than you could roll fondant or fondant with CMC or fondant with Tylose. You can make it out of those things, but I think you'll battle. I just don't think it's really worth it almost. Okay. I didn't bring it here with me, but I have a tool that's like a board like this and it's got a vein in it, which is very helpful. It's called a cell board. If you have one, actually just hold on, let me just go fetch it. Let me just go find it. Hold on. I want to keep you guys while I'm looking for. Sorry, you can still hear me. I've got these headphones on, but I'm walking around my house. There we go. Sorry, I don't know where I put it. It's somewhere. It's somewhere. But anyway, what I want to say about it is that it's an expensive item. They're like, I don't know, 400 Rand. They're expensive. So you don't need that thing. But if you're going to make a lot of flowers, it is awesome. It makes your life so easy. So with that thing, as I said, it has like a groove in here. So you roll the paste out over the groove. And then getting your wire in is super easy because it's got this place for the vein all done and dusted. Okay. But assuming you don't have one of those. Oh, okay. We're going to do it a different method. So I'm going to, actually, where's the green one? I just want to show you the difference. So I saved my white wires for this. But if you have green ones, I just want to show you what will happen. So I'm going to lay my wire. Oh, this one's really bent. Okay, I'm going to lay my wires like that, and I'm going to fold this over. I don't know if you can see, but there's a bit of green dust on everything. Oh dear. Okay, so now the wire is inside. But you can see here on this, with the green wire, it's very visible. It shows through, which is why the white wire is preferable. For a stargazer, because the inside colors are so bright, I think I could quite comfortably camouflage that. But again, if you were doing St. Joseph's, you wouldn't want to have a visible wire. Okay, so that's how we're using the white wire. And it needs to be quite thin. So just roll over it until it is thin enough that you can kind of, I've made a hole in it now, kind of see, okay, what you don't want to pick it up like this because I'm talking, but I'm trying to show you the thickness. I'm just going to redo it because that's not going to work for me. Actually, maybe if I just, right. Okay, so thin enough. I always say that you can read the writing through it. Okay. I don't know if you can see that, but it is quite thin. Okay. Sorry. Let's just do that again. Let's just go again. Okay. Stick your wire in. Hold it over. And obviously it needs to be big enough for this big cutter. So just check your size as you go. That looks fine. So we want the bottom here of the wire to line up so that it goes down the middle. So you don't end up with it going off to one side. Again, with that cell board, it's very easy because you can see where the line is. Okay, and then a nice clean cut, which is not as easy as it sounds because where the wire is, obviously it can't go all the way down to the board. So just cut it as nicely as you can. Then once you've cut through, these cutters have this little thingy inside that you can press down and it makes the impression of the sort of central vein for you. You can just press it down. Don't press it too hard. You don't want to push it right through to the wire. Okay, so there you can see my cut is clean-ish. Obviously getting worse as you get close to the wire here. And there's that central vein. I don't know if you can see that, but it is there. Okay. Then you don't want this wire to come out like my last one did. So just slide your palette knife or something underneath there and put it onto your petal pad. Okay. Sorry about the state of my petal pads. My children are very naughty and took a big krapsie out of it. I did wash it. Where these sort of not so neat edges are, just smooth it out with your finger. Just get rid of any imperfections there. And then you can use, now this is totally up to you, whatever you prefer. There's lots of tools. I'll show you how to use all of them. My favorite is the bone tool. It looks like this. You use it like a hockey stick. And you just press in around the edges there. Just to smooth those edges a bit. Or you can use a ball tool, which looks like this. Works the same. Okay. Or you can use this thing, which is, I actually still don't know its name, a blunt something, I don't know, I can't remember. This one, you just press it in like that. So you can roll it along the side. All of them do the same thing. They make the edge thinner and slightly wavy. If you wanted to put more veins in, you can do that. I'm not going to do that. There's ways to do that. You can get different kinds of veiners that you push in. There's a set, of course I didn't bring it with me. There's a set, a gem set for making, this is a leaf, but where the veins are in the set. It's not a plunger like this, but it's like, I don't know, I just don't like them very much. I find that they push too deep in and then you get problems. So I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm just going to make my edges a bit thinner. If you've got a new petal pad, like a brand new one, you might want to use a bit of Maizena. So I've got mine here in a just a cleaning cloth, and then I tied it with an elastic so you can make a little puffer. I'm puffing myself here. Okay. Okay, then the next step is actually the hardest one, is to find somewhere for this to rest that it can dry and give you a nice open effect. Okay, and again, there are tools for this. I don't own anything like that, but it looks like basically like a cone-shaped cup almost, where you can put it inside. If you just put it over something, hold on the sides, you can see your wire is going to start peeping out here. So this whole wire needs to be bent into the right shape. So just curve it open like that. And then find somewhere to rest it. So I usually have like an upside down bowl. Of course, I've got nothing here today. I don't have nothing on here today. Can you see that? Okay. And you need 3 of these big petals and then 3 of the smaller petals. So I'm just going to go ahead and make those quickly. No, you can just see, you can't see my face. I can't give up. Is it weird? Right. And again, I don't know if you can see it, a little bit of green sneaking in there, you know. So when you're doing white things, like let's say you were making a snowman and you were making a Santa, make sure you do all your snowman parts before you know, take Santa out or whatever. Fire. And again, I wouldn't put this together until I had all of my parts completely dry. I'll do my best to put it together for you today, but please don't try and do that at home. It's much, much easier once they're completely dry. You know, you'll faff around with sort of not so dry ones, and then you'll get to this point where it's like, what am I doing? Whereas when they're dry, they're quite stable, and you can, you know, move them and attach them, and it's quite easy. Okay. Right, so just need one more fat one. And I do quite like these for a wedding cake or something because they're big and splashy. You don't need a lot of them. So look, it's a bit time consuming to make them, but it's not the most time consuming flour. So, you know, you can just have 1 or 2 or whatever, and that can basically fill up your cake. You don't need much more than that. Okay. Sorry, this part is boring. And actually that is the way with flowers, there's a lot of repetition. And I'm not really thinning this part here because this will be joined into the whole thing at the end. It's not really, oopsie, a bit wonky. Okay. Right, okay, so once you got your 3 fat ones, I'm going to go ahead and make 3 narrow ones, or of the narrower ones. So this guy. And they're exactly the same. There's really no difference in the method. It's just a question of making them. And if you've got a bigger rolling pin or a bigger board, you can roll out a few at a time as well, to save time. So I don't know, this guy was a bit thick. Let me just show you. So especially at the tip here, for some reason, it was just a bit thick. So when you try to thin it out, sometimes you end up, I don't know, I'm really hamming it up now for you to see. So instead of just thinning it out, it kind of stretches it out, which is not really what you want. I'm just going to cut them again. Get rid of that excess. So try to make sure when you roll it, not to roll it quite so fat on the end there. Okay, that's better. But again, I think people would, I see people in my classes would stop and start completely from scratch. I don't think that's necessary. I think if you just trim it off or cut it with a pair of scissors, just get rid of it. And also these are the back petals, so they're not really featured as such. Right, and I just need 2 more little dudes. And I don't know if you can see this either. I'm working with quite a small piece of paste at each given time. If you try and work with a big piece, I know especially if you think you're going to roll out a lot at a time, it's just more difficult to get it thin if you're working with a big piece. So I'm just going to use a small piece at a time. I don't know, for me that's what goes the quickest. But I think that's probably a matter of personal preference. And don't try and press and cut at the same time. That doesn't work. You just end up with it all getting stuck inside the cutter. And also just to sort of, these are not a very frilly flower. I'll get the picture up now again for you to show you because I want to show you the coloring. But we're just thinning the edges and giving them a little bend. We're not frilling it into oblivion. It's not that kind of flower. All right, last one. Hooray.
So Julie, around about how deep is your wire going into the petal?
Oh, that's a good point. So I would say probably 3/4 or 2/3. So it's about there.
Okay.
Some people do it all the way to the end. I don't know why I don't, except that I find that it pops out more then, I think.
Yeah.
If you don't have it too far enough, though, it will definitely pop out because the weight from the so the length of the petal will cause problems. So I think it's more just, let me show you. So it's more, there's the wire. Then I fold it over. Okay, now this wire is poking out. And then I roll over it again. So it sort of spreads it, which is why it doesn't go all the way in. But I suppose if I cut it lower, I could. I don't know, yeah, good question. Again, I don't really have a reason for it, just that's the way I do it. Okay, last guy. Okay. Just to go back to the wires, so the wires that I buy are already covered with tape. If you're buying wires that are not covered with tape, you will need to cover them. The wires come in different sizes, so they're called gauges. I don't know, again, it's probably some engineering thing. So 28 gauge is the thinnest you can usually buy in the baking shop, and an 18 gauge is the fattest. So I don't know why, but the higher number is the fatter one, and the thinner one, and the lower number is the fatter one. Okay, here we go. Some petals. All right. So now I have 6 petals. And then if I had all the time in the world, I would leave these to dry. I wouldn't do anything more with them. I'm going to just get that picture up again. No, that's not what I want to do. Share content, photos. Is it? Yes, done. Okay. So if you can see this flower, can you all see the flower again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you look at it, we're going to start off with these inner 3 petals because they have probably the more complicated coloring. I'm just going to do them all at the same time because, you know, my life is fleeting. Okay, so if you look down the middle of each petal, there is that central vein, which we have stamped in using this stamper. And where you dust it, the dust should collect more in the veins and create a darker color there. So just by dusting over that vein, we'll make it darker pink. And then it has these little dots on it. So the dots, I think, depending on the type of flower that it is, create, for lack of a better word, landing lights for the insects to see where to go. So they tend to be quite sparse on the outside of the petals, and they become more dense as they come towards the inside. So it's basically saying, come here, come here, come here, and then the bee or whatever gets in there and knows where to go. And some of them, I understand, actually glow under UV, so you would see they would have a whole different color. I don't know if that's true of this one. Okay. And then in the very inside, it is green and white and yellow maybe. I will try and get that effect. It's quite difficult to get it so perfect like that. I feel like that's, again, a detail that you don't need to worry that much about. And then if you look at the edges, the tips of the petals, those are still white. So the inside is pink, getting darker pink sort of towards the inside vein and lighter towards the outside of the petal. All with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this stuff, so there are lots of different kinds of lilies in the world. I just chose this picture because it shows the stems and everything. But you could do any kind of lily, day lilies, tiger lilies. There's lots of different types of lilies. It's all at this point about the coloring. So I'm going to carry on copying this guy. How do I make this to be? There we go. Aha. Yes. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to start off by dusting some pink on just to get us going. I'm going to use this one. This is called Cerise. But I think it actually could be a bit brighter. Let's just see what color it is. That's okay. I'm going to look for some way to make it a bit darker in color, just a bit sort of brighter, especially for that central bit. What have I got here? So I'm going to use some red or this. Yeah, that's a good one. So this one's called Rubine. It's kind of just a red color. And then for the dots, your options are you can paint them on with a small paintbrush, so something like that. Or you can use, if you have them, if I put them, oh, I used them too. Hang on, sorry. You can use like a colored edible marker. So I've got a pink and a brown here, actually, and a red. Let's see what looks the best. So these ones are 1,000,000 years old, and actually when they run out of juice, I just dip them back into the color gel and they come back to life again. So These ones are AmeriColor. I don't think you can get these anymore. AmeriColor, I don't think they import them anymore. But there are other options of like edible markers. I'm sure. They also are quite expensive though. So here's just a piece of paste, just to see. So you can make the little marks, the dots. I'll make it a bit darker with the red, which is obviously very easy. If you don't have that and you're using a brush, I would say a very small brush, something nice and fine. That little one of mine. Okay, it's very small, this guy. And you just, yeah, so if you just dust the dust on, you can then, it's too diffuse. You need to make a little bit of paint. Or just the gel, you can just use the gel. Sorry, I seem to have failed to bring anything here with me. There we go. So to make the paint, you would mix some of the, if you're using powdered colors, you would mix some with what they call quick dry essence, or even just water. This is just a bit of water that I'm going to mix it with here, just to make a little paint it on. There we go. And then you can paint those little dots on. I don't know if you can even see that, they're tiny. So just see what you've got and use what you've got. Again, you don't need to have the latest and greatest of every piece of equipment, as tempting as I know it is for all of us. You don't need them all. Okay, so I'm going to start off just with some pink, and then I've got this red to darken it a bit. Always when you start with your dusting, I would suggest you go lightly at first. You can always make it darker as time goes on, but it's very difficult to get rid of a lump of color that you've accidentally put somewhere. So the pink I'm using, now there's red everywhere. The pink I'm using isn't that, oh, actually it is quite dark. It's quite a bit darker than I expected. Isn't life always surprising? Okay, so you can see there, I'm getting this pink look. I'm trying to stay away from the edges and get it kind of evenish. I'm reasonably happy with the way that's looking. I want it to be darker here in the middle, so I'm going to take some of this pink, a little bit of the red, just a little bit, just to mix it together to make my pink a bit darker. Of course, it doesn't look any darker, is it? Oh, actually, and I haven't done this green thing that I was talking about. Let's just get this guy going. A bird, is there a bird?
There's a bird by me.
Okay, so I don't know if you can actually, how clearly you can see this. This is sort of white or pale pink. There's the paler pink, and then there's the darker pink. It could even be darker. I just don't have another darker pink here. And everything else I got is purple. I don't want to go there. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you wanted to do that green section at the bottom, I would also just paint that on with a bit of, make a little paint. Or you can just dust it green. So it's not going to have this pointed star look to it, but again, I just feel like that is, I feel like that's quite a exaggerated detail, and it's quite difficult to achieve it. So I would just come along with another fluffy brush and just add a little bit of green here at the bottom, like that, just so that it looks like it grew in a natural way. For me, that's all I would do. And then we've got to do these dots. Okay, so should I paint them on? And the dots are not completely round necessarily, so don't get too worried about it. You get stencils and all kinds of gadgets and tools for this. Again, I don't think that's necessary. I think you just got to go for it. And just remember, they're going to be sparse up here, so 1 or 2, and then becoming more as you get closer to the bottom. Okay. I've got chicken pox. Okay. Does that make sense? Everyone's still with me? Okay, I'm going to put this guy out of the way just to dry a bit. I'm going to try, see how, actually just going to try with the brush and see if I can get you a nice V, green V on this one, just to show you. I find them difficult to do and I don't normally do them, but it is in the picture, so, you know, now I feel like I need to do it. Okay. So I'm just going to make again a little bit of green paint. That's just water. Okay. And I'm just starting with the darkest at the bottom and in the middle. See, I don't know, it just doesn't have that natural look for me. Could be yellow maybe. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that guy to dry, see how he comes out. This guy I'm just going to dust with the pink in the other same way that I did the other one. Paler on the outside, darker on the center. And I don't know, again, if you can see this, but it's got quite a dusty look to it. All of that dust gets, sorry, now I've got green on everything. Hang on a second. All of that will go in the steam of the kettle, which will take it away, that kind of dusty look, and it will become like a continuous color. So yeah, don't worry too much if you've got a lot of dust. In terms of the back of the petals, so it depends if you're going to, you don't really see the back of the petals, but actually I would do a little bit of dusting on the back, just because if for some reason they are exposed, you don't want them to look like you didn't have any color on them. I'll do just a hint of color on the back. Obviously the front is the side that's going to be the most visible. Paint some more dots on him. And I would keep them all together so that you can see that they all, actually let me just do a green on this guy first. Because you don't want one which is more dense than the other one. So, I'm getting lazy. This guy looks much better than this guy. And so you go until you have all of your petals. Okay. I don't know what happened here. There's like a, what's in my dreamland there. Okay. I think you get the idea there. So those are your inner petals. Then for your outer petals, it's the same story again, but there's a lot less spots. So I would just, I'm going to show you, I'm going to line them all up and do them all at the same time. There's my pink brush gone. That was pink or red. And you know, you can see here, this guy started to set already a little bit. They are setting. Again, I would wait until they were completely dry. Then you can do this and you can press quite hard on them. It doesn't mess up the sort of finished product. You know, I'm just doing it like this because we're in a class which is this length of time. So we want to have a result at the end. Darker pink. And don't be afraid to mix these colors. Sometimes you may need to mix colors to get to the shades that you want. It's not, you know, that's not actually true. They sell pretty much every shade you could possibly want. But sometimes you don't want to buy every single shade that they sell, you know. I know it doesn't really matter what I buy. I never have the exact shade that I'm looking for. Okay, there we go. Okay, probably fine. Again, just maybe a little hint of color on the back. And you might want to do this on a piece of paper towel or something, just to stop the backs from getting color on them accidentally. Because you'll see, so like there's color on the board here. If I slide it through, okay, I'm really doing it, hamming it up now. You can see it kind of looks quite messy. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it kind of just gets stuck on there accidentally, which is not what you want. Or just clean your board nicely in between. Use this stuff up for the backs. There we go. A little bit of green on the bottom of each one. And the St. Joseph's lily, which is basically a white lily, you would need to do a little bit of greening on that as well. So even though the lily petals are white, you definitely need a little bit of this green, otherwise they look very unrealistic. Okay, and then some dots on this guy. Where's my dot brush? There we go. Okay, so again, I'm just looking at the picture to see where are the dots. Almost nothing on the top of the half of the petal. All the dots are on the bottom half, so and just a few dots. Don't overthink it. I think it's one of those things that people are not going to look at your dots and go, there's too many dots. I don't know. I don't think people really care that much about these details. It's more the overall impression. Okay. And they're not evenly spaced. They are quite random. So, oh boy. Something like that. All right, okay. And then, as I said before, you would leave them to dry fully before you do anything else with them. I am going to put them together as best I can, just to show you. But please leave them to dry. Let's see if this guy is dry. It's very sticky. No, just not working for me, man. Oh la la. And I like a nice fluffy brush. This, I just stuck the fluffy brush in the wet stuff, but so this for me is a bit too small. I like ones like this for doing my dusting, or even bigger. I don't have any at the moment, but you can get like a makeup brush from Pix or something. Those are great because they're really big and fluffy. All right, let's just put a few spots on this guy so he's not standing out in the wind. Okay. Yeah, I think just go with the natural dusting. This looks for me horrendous. I'm so over it. Note to self, choose your pictures carefully for your online classes. Okay, let's see. Dots are a bit smaller than the other dots. And also, it's right in the inside of the flower. It's almost hardly visible. So I'm really just splitting hairs over it. Okay. Okay, so once you've got, I'm just going to get rid of all of this color here. Hang on. Once you've got all your petals and they're dry, you can join them together. So to do that, you're going to use florist tape. I'm going to use some green tape. Okay, so this stuff, again, you just buy it from the baking shop, whatever's, they sell it in different colors, or from a florist. But you need to make it a bit narrower. To try and wrap this wide one is too difficult. So I have a little gadget. I'll show you the gadget. A little gadget that looks like this, and it's got blades inside. You just pull it through and it cuts it thinner. But if you don't have the gadget, just fold it over a few times. I'm suddenly wishing I'd just used the gadget. Again, with all of these things, I feel like it's so tempting to go down to the shop and buy every single one. Of course it is. But you don't need them. You can, it maybe takes a little bit longer, but you can do all of this stuff by hand. Okay. So there I've got it a bit narrower. Could even be a bit narrower than that. I normally cut it into 4. So here's some that I used that I cut with the other gadget. Not that different. So that's probably about the thickness that you want. I'm going to cut this piece in half again. If I can. No, I cannot. Just to make it narrower. Oh, no, that's not working at all. It's moving. Right. Okay. Okay. No. Okay, well, you can see it's not straight. I'm just going to go with the slightly wider one because at least it's straight, and where it's not straight, sorry, let me just show you this one here. That's the slightly wider one. This one, where it's not straight and it has these narrower sections, it tends to break at those thin sections. So I'm going to use this piece, I think. Okay. Again, I would wait until it's completely dry. I think I've said that about 250 times, but I'm saying it again because start with the pistil, which is the middle bit. And you're going to wrap the tape around. So the tape itself is not sticky, but when you pull on it, it gets a little bit sticky that it sticks to itself. So starting it off is the hardest. You just want to wrap it, roll it up slightly. So I'm trying to like zoom, but I don't know if that's working. And then at an angle, you just twist it and pull it down. Okay. Then you want to join these stamens on. Okay. Again, you want to look kind of, they actually are technically almost exactly at the same height as this middle, but my wires are a bit short for that. So I'm just going to join them on. And don't get too worked up about where they are, just tape them on. Once they're all taped on, we will adjust them a bit so that they go in the directions that you want. You can see, I don't know if you can see the underneath, they're not completely yellow. I'm being very lazy today. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. You only really see the tops. See, like that guy's really short. I'm never going to get him up at the same height. I will. There we go. Okay. So now I have them all taped on. This whole collection of wires is now getting quite thick. And you don't want to have little pieces of wire sticking off here. So I'm going to go down all the way to the end so that the ends are all covered. And you've got a nice neat thing to join your petals onto. Okay. So can you see that? Okay. These, again, just if you look in the picture, you'll see that these kind of curve outwards. So just using your fingers, shape them so that they're curving outwards a bit. There's the short guy. And once you've curved them out, it probably won't be that big a deal if there's a short guy. This is now where you're going to adjust them. So if you look from the top, you want to have a good even spacing. There's a bit of a cluster of them here, so I'm just going to move them around. Okay. And you can actually start to see how it's already starting to look a bit like a lily. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Right, then we're going to join the petals on. So again, onto the central thing from where you were before. Start with your tape again. Just make sure it's kind of attaching. And you're going to start with the inside petals. Okay. So they're still very soft. Just bear with me. I hope I don't break them. I hate this. Okay. Should make simple one. Bend the wire and tape it on. Okay. And that's the guy with the weird. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to join these now. Maybe. Okay. Actually, have a dried one. I want to just go and fetch it. Okay. And then tape it. And so on and so forth. I don't know if you can see them. They're very soft. So you can see how it's starting to come together. I can't carry on. I think they're going to fall off. Let me just, not with the tape, hang on. Let me just show you how it will look. I'm happy to make a little video once they dry of how to tape them on for you if you want. But basically, you put these 3 inner petals together on like that. And then the 3 outer petals taped together in the same way. But definitely wait for them to dry a bit, because you can see, I don't know if you can really see, but how smushed the bottoms are getting here. And I mean, you don't want to spend all these hours putting petals on and then making beautiful petals and then they're just completely mashed. Okay. So those would be the 3 inner ones, tape those on, and then your 3 outer ones would be taped in between. So this guy will be between like that. Does that make sense? Everyone with me?
Yeah.
What is the time? How are we doing? How do you see the time on here? 12:06. That's good time. I'm going to leave these guys to dry. I'll try and make a little video tomorrow and I'll send it to you of how I tape them, if that's okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because it's not working now and it's, yeah. I don't want to mess them up just because I'm rushing. Does anyone have any questions?
No, not really. I think it's all covered.
What I'll do is I'm going to look to see if I've got the cutters now that I can manipulate to use it. And then I'm going to try and make one. I might then just email you if I have any questions.
Of course, you're always welcome to. So I am terrible generally with my email at the moment because my children are all at home. So I'll send you my WhatsApp number. You can just send me a question if you don't already have it. Just send, if you've got like semi-urgent questions, send to my WhatsApp because I'll actually look at that more regularly.
Okay.
If it's not urgent, I try to do emails once a day, but it doesn't always happen. And I will also send you the link to this video so that you can download it.
Yes, please. Yeah, it would be very
Did
helpful.
you manage to download one of the ones before? No?
Yes. I managed for
Because
it.
Miranda said she couldn't do it, so I don't know what was going on there. So
No,
if
but
you do
it's
have
fine
problems,
with me. Yeah.
okay, good. I'm just checking that it's not a problem for everyone.
Yeah. All right.
Cool, yeah. And yeah, I don't have anything else. Oh, next week I've got...
Right. I haven't ever done a live before on Instagram. It's my first time. It's telling me all kinds of things. I did a Zoom class yesterday about lilies. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to show all of you and the people that were attending the class, because I didn't manage to finish it in the class, how to put together a sugar lily. Okay, so let me just turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, oh, some rusks there. So there are the parts of the lily. Just so you can see, I've also got my kettle on the boil there. Okay. And I'm just sure because it's going to boil quite a bit. All right. So in the class we made all the various parts. There they are, the stamens, the pistil, which is this thing, and this tape to bind it all together. The reason I didn't put this together yesterday is because I should get a better angle here. The petals were not dry. So you're going to start off by attaching your inner petals. So the inner petals are wider and they have more spots on them. Just bend the wire. That's my dog barking now. See what to say about it. So you're basically going to wrap them all together. These petals are quite heavy and I find quite a bit of a challenge to join. Why is popping out there? And there's another one. Okay, just wrap it. Because they are so heavy, you need to wrap them quite tightly. Make sure they're well tight on there. There's number 3. It's a little bit damaged, but that's okay. Hopefully it won't be visible. Okay, so once you kind of got them on there, whoa, with a bit of tape. Oopsie. Wrap and wrap. That damaged guy is loose on there. Hang on. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get myself in the screen. Hello. I see there's at least one person watching me. I never know with these live things. You're like, what are we doing here? Okay. So nice and tightly wrapped. Whoopsie. That damaged guy is going to be loose. Okay. Alright. So just to see from the top, once they're attached, you can then use your wires and whatever to bend it in the directions that you want. So you basically want even spacing, something like that. Then I'm going to come with my second row of petals, these guys, and I'm going to join them in between in exactly the same way. Just start with a new piece of tape. Well, actually this is the same one. Oh la la. I used very thin wires on this as well because it was... Hello. Oh, Anita. Hey, that's what we actually know. Bit of a disaster area going on here. There we go. So just joining all of these guys together. See, this guy got a bit damaged. He got damaged because in my video yesterday I was trying to join him, but he wasn't dry, and I was very sad that he was all going to be ruined. Okay. If you feel like your petals are getting damaged, rather wait until they're fully dry. Okay, last guy. And I'm not really worrying about where they are. I'm going to move them around once they're all joined on. Okay, you can see here now it's quite a thick amount of wire down here. I'm just gonna tape all the way down to the bottom. I think I'm gonna run out of tape though. Of course I am. Wait. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay. So there you go. They're all joined together there. Now you can look from the top and work out which ones must go where. So remember, your wider ones are inside. I think these guys are the wrong way around. There we go. There you go. And if you need a bit more support on this, you can just add a little piece of gum paste at the back. And then the last step to all of this, let me see if I can hold this and do it at the same time, is to steam it. Okay, hang on. Let's turn around so you can see my face. Okay, there's my face. Okay, so this is just my kettle. I don't know if you can see that. It's got some steam coming out of it. So I'm going to take my flour and I'm just holding it over the steam just to get rid of any just to get rid of any dust. There we go. Let me show you. There you have it. So there it is. Ta-da! So that's sugar lily. Cool. Okay. Hope you all have a lovely Sunday. Bye. How do I end this thing? Damn it.